Good afternoon, members. This is Dave Butler, the president of the Desert Highlands Association. I'm here with Monty Beckton, our general manager and COO. Normally you see Monty standing outside with his sunglasses on, but we're here with a gloomy, rainy day in Scottsdale, so it must be a good time to talk about numbers.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are required annually within 30 days of the fiscal year end to report what the dues will be for the following year. The board met on this Monday and have set the dues for a $50 increase over 2019 numbers. So the dues will be $13.25 for regular members beginning with the December 19 billing. I wanted to give you an update on net operating loss as compared to budget. Management was challenged with budgeting when you came in here in July and had to get right into the budget for the following year. I'm pleased to report that we are forecasting the loss to be about $90,000 or about $50,000 less than the $140,000 loss that was budgeted for 2019. Monty, why don't you cover what you see in terms of the budget for 2020?
You know, there's a lot of pressure on wages in this marketplace, and if you out and about at all, you see help wanted signs everywhere. We're almost down to a point where no matter what our packages look like, there's just not enough people in the market. So when we prepared the budget for the board this year and the finance committee, what we talked about is the pressure on the hourly wage, so non-exempt employees that are not salaried. The pressure there, when you look at a $1.50 increase from 12 to $13.50 or 13 to $14.50 or 15, it's not a lot big dollar improvement, but it's a large percentage improvement. So we're seeing in the budgets that we drafted, really 2/3 probably of the challenge in the payroll side is related to exempt employees or non-exempt employees, the hourly wage folks that we're going to have to take up to be competitive. On the exempt side, which is salary, a little flatter, around 4%. We feel like we're kind of where we should be in that area, but once again, the pressure's coming in that side of things, and really that numbers is substantially, it's overwhelming from a payroll perspective, but something that we're going to do to be competitive in the marketplace.
So the result of that is that just to put it in perspective is that the overall increase in payroll and payroll-related costs are expected to be about 6.2%. And payroll and payroll-related costs represent approximately 60% of our overall cost of operating the club, thus producing the 4% increase in dues for 2020.
Yes, sir. There's a couple of other items in there. We've got, on the marketing side, we're continuing to advance that and make sure we've got collaterals that are appropriate. We've used up the collaterals that we had when everybody arrived and Joan got here, so we've got some investment from that perspective that you'll see. And then our insurance, we went through and did a careful evaluation of all of our property values, and we found that we were probably around $11 million underinsured, so we've corrected those things and really gone through all of our policies. So you're going to see within the budget some increase on the insurance side of things too. But like I mentioned, really the pressures on the payroll side. We talk a lot, members like to talk about capital assets and things they'd like to see as enhancements. What I always try to lead people back to and our members back to is, remember, it's the people that really make the difference. The assets are important. We want to have nice amenities for our members, but at the same time, we want to have great service to go along with that. And I think the different departments have worked really hard this year at bringing in quality people and training and being able to deliver on that side of things.
Okay, thank you, Monty. Let's talk a little bit about capital. I spent a lot of time at last year's annual meeting about planning for the future with respect to our required capital levels. And one of the things that we talked about in our reserve study was the roads, and how we had set aside or estimated the cost of replacing our roads in 2025 at around $5 million. And the view was that we needed to plan better for such large expenditures. And so in 2019, we set $500,000 aside and moved it from the general reserves to that designated for the roads. We also learned something in going through that process. I know you engaged a third party to study the approach that we've taken to sealing in the past, and of course the members have now seen Desert Highlands Drive and Club Drive and the product that we've used. So one of the things I'd like to have you summarize what your plan is with respect to that product and getting more coverage around the club during 2020, and then I'll come back and talk about how we're captured that from a budgetary perspective.
Perfect. It's pretty simple. I touched on a couple of different things. We brought in an engineering firm to really study the roads and give us a perspective of what the life expectancy should be. They did that. They were very optimistic that if we continued the improvements that we're doing, the seal coating, the patching, crack filling, and those types of things that we do on a preventative standpoint, that the life should be substantially longer than the 5 or 6 years we're anticipating. We're probably out 10 or 15 years for most of the stretch of roads. We've also, I touched on this summer as well, through Holbrook Asphalt, there's a product called HA5. That's what we use to seal the roads this summer, the two major thoroughfares. It's performing very well. It's supposed to help extend the life of the asphalt. So one of the things within the budget this next year we're going to be doing is sealing the roads basically from the west of Golf Club Drive all the way to the west gate. And there's some crack filling to be done. Several members have called me about some large separations from the curbs in that part of the community and things like that. So in the first 6 months, I would say, of the year, we'll be addressing the crack filling and then come back and seal those roads with the same HA5 product. And about $200,000 of our operating budget in facilities is just going to that project alone. And there's another $100,000 in CapEx that's going to go for the crack filling and the material things we have to do from that perspective.
And importantly for the members to know is that while, as Monty indicates, because we expect that expenditure to take place, it is in the budget.
Yes, sir.
But it wasn't in the factoring, it wasn't considered in the factoring of dues.
That's correct.
Because we have surplus cash, as I've mentioned at prior annual meetings, and we are budgeting, we have costs that we can cover because of the amount of cash that we have, but that did not factor into the dues consideration for 2020.
And so, in other words, I think when you look at what we've proposed, the increase covers what we have as far as operating costs. It will continue, like payroll we touched on, but from extenuating things like the seal coating, we'll eat that up. It'll show as a negative, actually, performance for the year, but ultimately that'll be covered, like you said, in cash, and we won't factor that into our long-term pricing strategy.
Okay, a couple other things from a capital perspective. We are now expecting to add approximately $450,000 to our non-designated capital reserves for the year. That helps us to, again, plan for the future and minimize the likelihood of having to have any assessments. One of the things that we talked about last year at the annual meeting was our pursuit of bringing pickleball to Desert Highlands. There were a number of challenges in dealing with that with respect to the city. And I know a lot of progress has been made. We tasked the tennis committee to make an assessment of the viability of having 2 courts. The original plan was to have 4. We determined that was not viable, but to add 2 courts. So why don't you give the members an update on where we stand with adding 2 courts?
I'd be happy to. So Mr. Collins, along with the tennis committee, have stepped up to the plate and spent a lot of time and energy trying to identify a good location. I think the direction from the board was within the racket club area, which I think we're going to be able to accommodate. The work we've done with the city has been very positive. They've been cooperating with us. There's some utility issues that we're dealing with, but we're very optimistic with the help of that committee that we're going to be able to achieve something hopefully within the first half of 2020.
Okay, thank you. The next thing I wanted to talk about was with respect to landscape improvement plan. I think it's important to, obviously the members that are here have seen some of the work that's been done. Some of it's on the golf course as a part of the revegetation, but much of it is along the roads as well, and a lot of improvement. Why don't you share with the members a conversation you had with our new golf superintendent, Curtis, with respect to your vision of what his role will be relative to the overall facilities?
Well, you're exactly right. During the selection process, number one, we're excited to have secured Curtis to join the team first week of December. I think he'll be a great asset. Obviously, it's hard to see Phil go. He's done a great job here and looked after the property, and I'd say he left it better than where he found it.
Yes.
So we're sad to see Phil go, but to touch on what Mr. Butler is discussing is we actually added Jeff Rons last year as another arm on a horticulturist side to help look out for the NAOS and what we want to do with homeowners over time. During that selection process with Curtis, we emphasized the fact that he's really responsible for 850 acres, not just the golf course. So his marching orders coming in the door are going to be looking after the whole community. What can we do to work together? I would encourage you, we just had a design review committee meeting this morning, and we touched on please, if you're going to do something within your the envelope of your property, let Jeff Rons know, seek his advice. There'll be some things coming through the Greens Committee. They're going to give some directive over time, over the next several months, on what we're trying to do from a long-term perspective there. But Curtis's directive is for sure to work with Jeff Rons and the Greens Committee to really establish some standards going forward so we can have a more unique feel to the community and a more uniform look to what we're trying to accomplish here.
Thank you. This, I think, would be a good time to give a update on the irrigation project. You've been you interviewed, I've interviewed Phil, and of course the question he gets up every day it asks, are we still on budget, are we still on time? And I think why don't you give an update in terms of the meeting, I would call it the pre-close meeting, in terms of where we are and your confidence level around bringing this thing in on budget.
Well, Ms. Mordyke and Mr. Allen helped us work through that process along with Dr. Schwartz and coordinate everything. We had a pre-close meeting, as you mentioned last week. We feel very good with the contractor about where we stand in relationship to budget. You can see for yourself the results out there. We're very happy with what's taken place. There will be a little bit of a reserve held back when we get ready for next summer and we transition out of overseed. We want some funds there to fix some of the turf issues, some of the Bermuda that'll need to be sodded, because we put it to bed early this year with the overseed to get ready for everybody to come back. So other than that, we feel really good about the project. It's on time, budget. I think we're going to be very happy with where we end up with there, but hopefully you're all happy with it. We've received some very good comments.
Well, there's nothing like Mother Nature in terms of rain. You can pump it through irrigation, but the course looks absolutely beautiful, but I'm certain this rain is really going to help things out as well. One final thing that I had relative to capital projects for next year, we spoke at the annual meeting about the bar being too small, and one of the things that I challenged Monty as he took over the role as our GM and COO is we've got to have better utilization of our facilities. We have what's called in the industry too many dark nights in a number of our facilities. So why don't you give the members an update in terms of where you've taken that directive and working with the House and the Facilities Committee at this point?
It's a great lead in. So listening to Ron and his team and Todd are responsible for the clubhouse operations, the food and beverage outlets and all those things. And I've had the opportunity to be up there on some evenings at the podium and watch people come in, experience the environment between the bar and what we do in the upper and lower Ventana. And there's just some, I'd call it stress between the two environments. Some of our members would really like to come in and enjoy a nice quiet evening in the dining room. And we've got another demographic that would like to come in and have some music and have the windows open and have a lively, active area. And I believe personally, and after listening to the members, I think there's the demand for both of those types of atmosphere. When you look at prospects in the market, the conferences we're attending, it's absolutely a driving force in the industry right now. So we've worked over the past year with the library in Ladera trying to figure out if there's a better way. Mr. Butler touched on it. A lot of times those facilities are not utilized, how we can better utilize those. And I think we're really close to having a plan that we can take to the members. The board's seen the plan along with the Finance Committee, House Committee, and they've endorsed it, and the Facilities Committee. So we're right kind of at a place where we're going to be putting that stuff together and be able to share it with everybody to get everybody's feedback and hopefully be able to move forward with that in 2020 as well.
Okay, thank you, Monty. One of the things I think is important for the members to understand is the direction that that the members gave to the board and to me in my role as president is when we approved the irrigation project is don't layer on capital assessments. So the direction to the House and Facilities Committee, and as confirmed in our meeting on Monday, the board is that we do not anticipate any capital assessment in conjunction with these plans. We have a very, very strong balance sheet, as I pointed out to the board on Monday, that we've added essentially $7 million of capital assets, but with the amounts that was paid up front, coupled with the amount that was paid by the association, obviously the value of our club has increased. And we think we can utilize borrowing capacity at our bank in order to be able to facilitate what our members are asking for without the need for a capital assessment. Anything else you'd like to cover before we close?
On value, I want to touch, and we'll show you a graphic here. within this video, but the value that we have here in the community we think is exceptional. We've studied it. Joan and I have taken a look at it. Lisa, our CFO, has done a great job helping us evaluate everything as we worked on the budgets. We are within our competitive set, basically. There's only one club that provides amenities at a lesser dues price than we do, and that's with the HOA component combined. We've reached out to the other communities to add the HOA component to the dues structure. So you'll see in this graph, we're a very good value for what we provide. Now, I want to also touch on, we get a lot of feedback on amenities. We'd like to have free things. A lot of our members took advantage of the reciprocal program this summer, and you saw a lot of really fancy things and complimentary beverages and breakfasts and all those things. If you look at the structure of the dues on this competitive analysis, you'll see clearly there is a separation, and our board's been a little more conservative, and I think it fits our membership's needs well, that there's a balance there on what we're going to provide. But we feel really good about the value and what we've done here and what's happened on the golf course and what we're planning with the facilities as well.
Thank you very much, Monty, and congratulations on completing your first year here. And as you can see, we've accomplished a lot. One of the things that folks like us think about from time to time based on events in our lives is, how can we have the happy life? What can we do to enjoy our lives better? And certainly the community here, is a big part of that, and the friends that we make and like. And I would just ask for each of our members to reflect upon a popular phrase that's being used these days, that's appreciate more and complain less. Thank you for your time.